The carriage is dim, washed in the silver of ceiling lamps and the soft reflection of rain sliding down glass. Outside, the countryside drifts past like a charcoal sketch, smudged by mist and distance. Each drop tapping the pane sounds like a small, patient clock, reminding me that night is unhurried, generous with its hours. We glide through a valley now. A scatter of farmhouses blink once, then fade behind a rise. I count the silhouettes of sleeping cattle, their shapes blurred, serene, almost mythical in the low fog. The wheels sing their steady lullaby, steel on steel, a hush repeated over and over until it settles in the chest. A man across the aisle has dozed off, arms folded, chin tucked into the gentle hollow of a scarf. His ticket flutters slightly with every breath, a tiny white sail on a still sea. I imagine he is returning from a reunion. Old friends, shared photographs, a promise to write more often. Maybe he carries the warmth of a farewell hug still glowing under his coat. The conductor pauses by our row, checking passes with the softness of someone long accustomed to moonlit corridors. Her footsteps fade toward the next carriage, and silence folds back around us like a blanket. I lean into the window, forehead almost touching the cold glass, and watch my reflection merge with passing trees. For an instant, I am both inside and outside, traveler and landscape, thought and breath. We slow for an unmanned station. A single lamppost, a wooden bench darkened by rain, poster boards curling at the edges. No one boards, no one departs, yet I feel an odd tenderness for the platform, as though it were a friend who rose from bed just to wish us safe travels. The doors never open. The train sighs and eases forward, carrying its quiet cargo deeper into the blue hour. Time lengthens at night, stretches like a cat in warm light. I recall childhood summers when evenings seemed endless, fireflies blinking like casual constellations, the distant bark of a neighbor's dog, the smell of cut grass on sunburned skin. Back then, I thought life would widen the same way forever. Now, miles flicker past, and I notice how swiftly seasons fold, how gently memories season the present. Rain thickens, drumming softly on the roof. The rhythm coaxes the mind to wander slower, slower still. I picture a young woman 2 rows ahead, eyes closed, earphones tucked beneath a knit cap. Perhaps she listens to a voicemail she can't bring herself to delete. Someone's laugh, preserved like shellac on vinyl, humming its own small eternity. Another station, this one with a water tower leaning like a sleepy sentinel. A single umbrellaed figure stands outside the yellow halo of a lamp, yet does not board. I wonder if they've come just to watch trains, to feel the gust of departure, to measure the distance between longing and goodbye. The locomotive eases up an incline. We pass an orchard, branches slick and shining, each tree cupping pockets of silver rain. I think of letters I meant to mail, words I rehearsed but never set free. Regret is gentle tonight, not a bruise but a faint echo, encouraging rather than scolding. Remember, try again, there is still time. A yawn rolls through the carriage like a ripple in still water. It reaches me, and my eyelids grow deliberate. The interior lights dim a fraction, and the night outside grows deeper, almost velvet. I feel the subtle tilt of the earth, the way it carries all of us. Fields, rivers, the sleeping man, the conductor making notes in her ledger, quietly toward morning. We cross a viaduct. Far below, a river ribbons through blackness, its surface interrupted by rain-pocked crowns. I imagine every droplet as a whispered wish, dissolving on impact yet somehow heard. Above, clouds part just enough for a slip of moon to rest her chin on the horizon. An elderly couple sit near the door, hands intertwined, thumbs circling slow assurances. They exchange no words, only soft glances, as if speech might wake something fragile. Perhaps they are returning from a wedding where they danced once more, shoes shuffling like autumn leaves, remembering when rhythm was effortless. The train's tempo slackens, each clack spaced wider apart, inviting thought to open, linger, fade. I trace condensation on the glass, drawing a half-remembered coastline, then wiping it away, letting it become sky. Breath warms the pain, then clears, a miniature weather front born and gone in seconds. I think of tomorrow not as a schedule, but as a meadow of unpressed snow, waiting for first footprints. Plans feel lighter at this hour, pliable, willing to be rearranged by kindness or curiosity. Hope doesn't blaze. It glows like embers under ash, promising steady heat if tended. Somewhere ahead, the engineer will throttle down beside an expanse of dark pines. We will pause just long enough for owls to question the stillness, then roll on. The night, too, will pass, slowly, softly, the way pages turn when the story is almost over yet no one wants it to end. My thoughts thin to murmurs. Rain softens to a hush. Steel hum deepens to a distant heartbeat. I close my eyes and let the train carry what remains of wakefulness into the folds of darkness, where dreams wait like quiet stations, their lanterns already lit. The cabin is quieter than thought, as though even ideas have taken their shoes off. Rain beads at the window's edge, tiny prisms scattering platform lights into sleepy constellations. Somewhere near the ceiling, a vent hums a sustained, contented note, steady as a hand on a shoulder. I sit 2 rows from the end of the carriage, close enough to hear the coupling joints flex whenever the track curves. Outside, the countryside feels half-remembered, a watercolor washed once too many times. Hedgerows smudged, barns reduced to gentle outlines, fences blinking past like film frames. A distant steeple appears, holds its breath, then slips behind a screen of poplars. Across the aisle, a teenage girl balances her phone on her knees, headphones cocooning her from everything but melody. Her fingers move in the air, conducting a private orchestra only she can hear. I invent a backstory. She's returning from an audition, violin case resting overhead, unsure whether the judges saw her tremor as passion or nerves. The train leans into a gentle bank. Signal lights drop away in pairs. Red then green then nothing, like someone switching off worries one by one. I watch each light glide across the rain-wet pane until it falls behind, leaving a faint afterglow in the mind. The conductor appears, middle-aged, mustache peppered with silver, holding the scanner loosely as though it might break the peace. He checks tickets without waking the sleepers, nodding at me with the soft authority of a seasoned librarian. When he leaves, the aisle regains its candle-lit hush. A sleeping child curls under a fleece printed with cartoon moons. Every so often she sighs, a sound light enough to float but heavy enough to tug at something tender. Beside her, an older woman, grandmother perhaps, keeps watch, knitting a scarf in slow, deliberate rows. Yarn feeds through her fingers like twilight through branches, calm and continuous. We pass a field where solitary horses graze by night, their backs glistening under faint yard lights. Their calm shapes remind me of summers spent near my aunt's farm, of picking wild berries until shadows lengthened and someone called us in for supper. I remember the taste of sun-warmed blackberries, the way juice stained my palms a royal purple I wished would never wash away. Time has changed its gait since then. Days feel brisk, eager to conclude. Nights, however, stretch graciously, offering corridors like this one where reflection walks at any speed it pleases. The rails beneath us seem to dialogue quietly with the years, repeating, now, 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 until clocks grow drowsy and surrender their ticking. At a siding, we slow to almost drift. An empty platform waits beneath an iron canopy. Vines climb the columns, leaves shaking silver under the drizzle. No voices, no luggage, only the soft halo of a single sodium lamp attending its lifelong vigil. I imagine once, long ago, a soldier disembarked there to surprise a love who thought him lost. Perhaps their laughter still lingers, thin but undiminished, woven into the brickwork. The rhythm of the wheels lengthens, spaces between clacks widening like breaths between thoughts. Inside, reading lamps dim themselves politely. A man at the far window lowers his newspaper, folds it with care one might reserve for a flag, then rests his eyes. I think about letters I drafted but never sent, pages confessing small failings, large affections, the ordinary wonder of simply being alive at the same time as another. Some lie tucked in notebooks, envelopes unsealed, waiting for courage to loosen its grip on silence. Tonight the train suggests a gentle instruction. There is still a postbox somewhere ahead. Drop them in, let them travel farther than regret. We cross marshland. Reeds tilt beneath the rain, bowing to an invisible conductor. Water mirrors the overcast sky, turning the world into layered grays that soothe instead of sadden. I spot the glimmer of a distant lighthouse, its beams sweeping languid arcs, a pulse from the coast reassuring inland wanderers that shores continue to breathe. The teenage girl removes her headphones, a smile curving softly as if the final chord resolved something inside her. She leans her head against the window and closes her eyes. Her phone screen dims, surrendering its glow to night. Every motion seems slower now. The carriage rocks gently, cradle sure. I picture the track ahead unfurling like ribbon thrown into darkness, guided by hands we'll never see but somehow trust. Another small station slides by, nameplate unreadable through mist. A clock fixed to the wall shows a time that could be real or simply kind, its minute hand unwilling to advance too quickly. I feel the same reluctance, a wish to linger in this midway hour where nothing is demanded except presence. My own eyelids weigh more than before. Thoughts blur around the edges. Sentences shorten. Spaces widen. The train breathes. I breathe with it, deeper each time, synchronized with the metal lullaby beneath. Rain softens to drizzle, to whisper, to hush. Landscape dissolves into formless dark, as if the world itself has closed its eyes, trusting that daylight will redraw every outline. I surrender to that trust, to the gentle kingdom of half-dream where images float without urgency. Seat fabric warms beneath me. Headrest cradles the last alert muscle. The hum in the vent lowers a pitch, like a choir settling into its final chord. I think one more small, clear thought. All journeys are invitations to forgive ourselves for arriving late to understanding. The sentence folds upon itself. Breath seeps outward, inward, soft. Steel sings its faint, unbroken hymn. And with the window still counting raindrops, I let the dark take the weight of wakefulness, letting it slip, let go, gone. Rain has thinned to a gentle mist, the droplets smaller than thought, melting on the glass before they can trace their full descent. The carriage lights glow soft amber, as though someone draped thin parchment over every bulb. Around me, breaths settle into slow tides, each rise and fall an echo of distant waves we cannot hear, yet somehow remember. Outside, rows of apple trees slide past, bare branches glimmering under the drizzle like ink strokes on dark silk. The orchard stretches farther than sight, disappearing into a hush of fog that looks almost kind, like a hand placed over a candle's flame to guard it from wind. I imagine the farmer asleep in a low-roofed cottage nearby, trusting night to tend the orchard while he dreams of spring blossoms. A young couple sit a few seats forward, leaning shoulder to shoulder, eyes closed. Their fingers intertwine, then loosen, then braid again, a small choreography performed in sleep. I picture the moment they boarded. Perhaps an unexpected upgrade left them 2 seats together, the sort of quiet fortune that feels like a promise of gentle days ahead. The wheels murmur beneath us, a language of softened consonants and long vowels stretched across rails. Each curve in the track lengthens the sound, letting it sigh before gathering itself again. I rest my palm on the armrest and feel the vibration travel upward, a reminder that movement can be calm, even when it is constant. We cross a gravel road guarded by a lone signal lamp. Its red eye winks once, twice, then vanishes behind the trees, leaving the darkness seamless again. Sometimes a single blink is enough to say, "I was here, I saw you, safe travels." I let my gaze blur, letting lights outside smear into soft rivers of gold and pearl. Shapes lose their edges, and everything feels closer, as if the night itself has leaned in to listen to our shared breathing. It is a relief to forget where skin ends and air begins. A middle-aged man in a tweed coat studies a weathered notebook, pages lit by a small clip-on lamp. He writes a line, pauses, taps the pen against the margin. Maybe he is drafting a letter he will never send, or sketching the plan of a garden he might plant in retirement. One more orchard, different fruit, sweeter climate. The train slows for a siding. We glide past a freight car parked on the adjacent track, roof glazed with rain, graffiti muted by water. Our reflections meet in the freight car's windows, brief, ghostly twins sliding backward into the night. Time feels less linear here, more like a pond stirred by a gentle hand. Ripples overlap, moments loop, memory and hope share the same quiet surface. I return to a childhood afternoon when I first rode a miniature train at a county fair. The whistle had sounded triumphant. The loop was tiny, yet I felt continents away from my parents waving near the ticket booth. That distance, measured in mere yards, was the first taste of freedom's bittersweet flavor. Now miles sweep past, yet freedom feels softer, like something earned only by letting go of urgency. Rain resonates, faint but steady, drumming a calming counterpoint to the rails. Each drop is a comma in the sentence of night, urging a slower read, a patient breath. A student too rows back mutters foreign vocabulary in dream-thick syllables, tongue rehearsing verbs even while unconscious. Perhaps tomorrow holds an exam or a reunion in another language. The train, impartial and kind, carries every hope with equal care. Another station approaches, name just visible through condensation, Orchard Gate, a fitting title for the land beyond, a quiet promise that fruit will ripen again, that sweetness can follow sleep. No one boards, no one leaves. Yet the platform lamp bows all the same, honoring passage. We pick up speed once more, but the rhythm remains unhurried. I watch raindrops race each other down the pane until they merge, proving togetherness is often the quickest path to rest. The countryside grows darker, hills folding into one another like layers of deep blue velvet. I think of friendships kept by distance, of conversations paused by time zones yet never truly concluded. Messages unsent linger like apples left on high branches, waiting for a gentle hand or an autumn breeze to bring them down. Tonight I promise, softly and without urgency, to write again, to shake the branches before frost claims the fruit. The couple ahead stirs. One murmurs a phrase too quiet to catch, a dream fragment floating then fading. Their heads find a new angle of comfort, and stillness returns like a tide reaching its farthest shore. The conductor passes, lighter in hand, adjusting a thermostat with practiced silence. Warm air trickles through vents, carrying a faint scent of cedar. It mingles with the rain-cooled window glass, creating a small weather system of comfort and renewal. Breath by breath, thoughts loosen. Sentences have themselves, then quarter, then drift apart like petals in slow water. The train hums beneath, a lullaby of iron and intention, guiding every passenger toward the soft borders of sleep. I close my eyes for a moment and see orchards in bloom, moonlight frosting every petal. The branches sway without wind, moved only by the echo of passing trains. Somewhere within that silver grove, a younger version of me sits beneath a tree, listening, learning that silence can be music. When I open my eyes, the present feels lighter, like a coat shrugged from tired shoulders. Night continues its gentle work. Rain keeps its patient tempo. The track ahead disappears into fog, but the engine knows the way, and that is enough. I draw one last slow breath, let it out like a lantern released over water, and allow eyelids to settle. The orchard outside fades to ink. Inside, warmth gathers, and the hum of travel weaves itself into dreams, promising dawn will taste of quiet apples and second chances. Rain combs the window with silver threads, each strand sliding downward until it vanishes into the dark seam of the sill. The soft percussion steadies the pulse of the carriage, a percussion gentle enough to coax even restless thoughts to kneel. We glide through pastureland now. Moonlight, muffled by cloud, sketches only the faintest outline of hedgerows and ponds. From this distance, every fence looks like handwriting on gray paper, brief messages to anyone awake enough to read them. In the corner seat, a man cradles a small cardboard box, fingers resting lightly on the lid. A florist's label peeks from the twine, wilted at the edges by damp air. I imagine a single orchid inside, destined for someone who once mentioned loving rare blooms, but never expecting one delivered after midnight. Opposite me, an elderly woman threads rosary beads through her fingers. Her lips move without sound, each silent syllable falling in step with the wheels. Perhaps the prayers are for grandchildren already asleep, or for memories that still flicker like porch lights left on. The train leans into a gentle curve. The hum beneath deepens, almost a purr. Interior lights dim by a fraction, trading brightness for warmth. Shadows settle into corners, folding themselves like well-worn quilts. We pass an abandoned siding, freight wagons rusted to a soft amber. Grass grows tall between steel ribs. The way time insists on filling every vacancy. I think of promises left too long unopened, letters aging quietly in drawers. A soft chime signals upcoming stations. Names scroll across a small screen. Towns whose syllables feel round and unhurried. Each one sounds like a lullaby measured in consonants and rain. A student slumped 2 rows back stirs, then falls still again. Notes scattered across his lap like crisp leaves. Ink glistens where a highlighter paused mid-sentence, glowing faintly under the lamp. I wonder if knowledge seeps in while he dreams, formulas nestling beside the gentle rhythm of his breathing. The rain thickens, not harsher, only fuller, as if clouds have decided to speak in a deeper voice. Droplets drum the roof with tender conviction, a reminder that steadiness can be a form of devotion. I trace a fingertip along the glass, drawing an invisible coastline. Islands emerge, then fade with my breath. It comforts me to map places that exist only for a moment, yet feel familiar all the same. We slow for Mapleford Crossing, a platform lit by twin lanterns. No one waits. Still, the doors part with ceremonial grace. Cool night air sifts through the aisle, carrying the faint aroma of wet clay and cedar smoke. In that brief opening, I catch a distant owl call, low and resonant. The sound seems to nod at the train, acknowledging fellow travelers of the night. Then the doors close, sealing us back into warmth, and the motion resumes. The man with the orchid leans his head against the glass. His reflection meets mine for a heartbeat, then both dissolve into passing treetops. I feel an odd camaraderie, the quiet kinship of strangers entrusted to the same rails. I remember another journey years ago, returning from a seaside town after a rain-soaked holiday. My pockets were full of shells, each one carrying a hush of surf. I gave most away over time, but one still lives in a drawer, polished smooth by thumb and memory. Outside, fields widen into marshland. Pools gather moonlight, then release it in widening ripples as raindrops land. It looks like someone scattering tiny coins into a wishing well big enough for sky. A faint scent of coffee rises from a thermos nearby. Its owner, a young woman with short hair and ink-stained hands, flips through a sketchbook. She pauses on a page showing a swan asleep beneath reeds, pencil lines soft as breath. Her eyelids flutter. The pencil slips. She rests. The book remains open, invitation and testament in one. Art, too, sleeps but never off duty. It keeps watch, recording whatever dreams forget to mention. The conductor appears, steps lighter than rain. He checks the time, adjusts a thermostat, and vanishes through the sliding door, leaving only the faint scent of pine polish. Even duty feels drowsy tonight. We cross a stone viaduct. Below, a river churns slow and opaque, surface stippled by raindrops, current hugging its patient course. I lean closer to the glass, whispering a private wish into the dark water. Carry what I no longer need, send it quietly to sea. Thoughts loosen, spacing themselves like lanterns along a quiet road. I notice how regret has softened at the edges, how hope does not leap but lingers, steady as pulse. There is room for both here, in the long corridor between departure and arrival. Another small station appears, Pine Hollow. A single bench waits under a canopy, puddles shining at its feet. The lamp beside it flickers, yet holds on, stubborn with kindness. We do not stop, but I salute the platform in silence, grateful for its vigil. Some places exist simply to say, rest if you need, the journey will wait. Inside, the orchid carrier shifts, adjusts the box upon his lap like a fragile dream. Sunrise is hours away, but already I picture petals unfolding beneath window light, a quiet bloom that traveled by starlight. Rain eases, becomes a hush, a memory. The wheels slow their song, space widening between each note. Sleep drapes itself across the carriage, gentle as first snow. I close my eyes. Behind lids, stations float past, names written in cursive water. Morning is a distant shoreline, pale and welcoming. For now, I remain in this moving room, breathing at the same tempo as steel and rain. The track hums its lullaby. The night answers with soft echo. Between one heartbeat and the next, consciousness folds, and I drift where words grow quiet, where orchids bloom, where every unseen station keeps its lamp burning, just in case. The night train keeps its steady promise, carrying us through miles of rain-washed hush. Droplets flick against the glass, merge, and slide away like thoughts that have finally decided to let go. Each tap settles the cabin deeper into stillness, a measured cadence that encourages every shoulder to soften. Outside, the world is tenderly unfinished. Hedgerows blur to charcoal smears, and faraway barns glow faintly where lanterns hang above empty doorways. Mist drapes the fields so evenly that hills appear to float, suspended between soil and sky. I sit alone near the junction between carriages, the rubber seal murmuring a low, contented sigh with each sway. Sleeper seats recline around me like scattered shells. Some hold passengers wrapped in dreams. Others cradle nothing but folded jackets, inviting any wandering ghost of wakefulness to rest a while. A boy 2 rows ahead has slipped sideways, cheek pressed to the window. His headphones leak the faintest shimmer of music. Something slow, strings fading into silence before beginning again. I picture him returning from his first concert, ticket stub tucked into his pocket like a new constellation he can unfurl whenever night feels too large. We glide past a disused freight yard. Rusty cranes reach upward like tired questions. Stacks of pallets shine with rain. I catch my reflection in the dark glass outside, half lit, half vanished, and remember summer evenings when I stood by kitchen windows, hoping phone screens would glow with someone's name. Back then, waiting felt endless. Now, motion itself is the pause I crave. The conductor's soft footsteps arrive, then recede. His scanner chirps once, an obedient bird. He nods without speaking, as if our shared silence were a fragile heirloom he must not drop. We slow for Briar Meadow Halt, a platform hardly wider than the train door. 2 benches sit shoulder to shoulder beneath a crooked shelter. No one boards. Still, the doors sigh open for 10 patient seconds, allowing night air to wander down the aisle and scent it with wet stone and distant pine. A memory rises. My grandmother waiting at a tiny station like this, wool coat buttoned against coastal wind. She would wave as though the gusts were strong enough to carry greeting right through the carriage walls. Even when I was grown and visits grew rarer, she never missed a train that might bring me home. She has been gone 3 winters now, yet whenever doors slide open to emptiness, I feel her affectionate scrutiny, as though she is checking that I remembered my scarf. The train gathers itself, pushing back into darkness. Somewhere in the ceiling, a fluorescent tube flickers, then settles, as if it too has found its rhythm. The wheels chant softer, longer syllables, leaving room between each for breath to stretch. Across the aisle, a woman in a burgundy coat cradles a paperback against her chest. The ribbon bookmark dangles, unmoving, Perhaps she reached a passage too honest for wakefulness and decided to close her eyes before the truth grew loud. Rain light runs in rivulets over her reflection, making it look as though she is already underwater, drifting peacefully among thought coral and memory kelp. I wonder if she will ever meet the author whose words she carries so tenderly, or if some stories are meant to keep their distance, like stars guiding sailors they will never touch. We pass fields trimmed with low stone walls. Even in darkness, the boundaries feel gentle, built to hold sheep rather than to keep intruders out. Their curves remind me that limitations can also be embraces, arms of stone reminding the earth where to rest. A toddling sigh ripples through the cabin as someone adjusts a blanket. Familiar scents mingle: worn cotton, thermos tea, faint citrus from a traveler who keeps peeling fruit under dim light. Each aroma stakes a small flag of home in this moving country of seats and sleep. My thoughts turn to time, not the impatient clatter of clocks, but the quieter arithmetic of seasons. Leaves browning, letters yellowing, friendships ripening even after long silences. I have learned that certain apologies mature slowly, like wine left in the cool dark. When uncorked at last, they pour smoother, kinder. We enter a tunnel. Darkness folds over the windows, and the cabin lights reflect us perfectly. An aquarium of dreamers floating in warm glass. The hum deepens, becomes a bass note that settles in bones rather than ears. Inside this brief black cocoon, I feel utterly safe, as if the world outside has taken a breath and chosen not to interrupt. When we emerge, riverbanks shimmer below. Street lamps on a distant bridge blur into golden commas, punctuating the water's slow sentence. I imagine each light marking someone's late errand: a baker kneading dough for the dawn, a nurse stepping outside for a moment of unshared sky. A single swan drifts beneath the pylons, its white back catching lamp glow. I watch until it vanishes under the next arch, then close my eyes, letting the motion finish the sentence. The boy's music fades entirely. The woman's book slips lower. My own pulse aligns with the rails. 4 beats, a pause. For beats, a pause. Like footsteps counting the distance to sleep. Ahead, another station waits. Williford, if memory serves, a place famous for nothing but quiet gardens. We may stop, we may pass through. Either way, its lamp will shine, patient as an elder sibling, making sure the path stays visible. I breathe more slowly, as though reading an invisible timetable of small silences. Rain relents, leaving only occasional taps, reminders that clouds still hover, keeping vigil. Words scatter, settle, and finally rest. The train continues, soft and certain, ferrying us across the night's gentle width. I let eyelids close, trusting steel and rain to finish the journey, while I drift toward that inner station where every platform bears the same name. You are already home. Rain keeps a soft metronome on the window, light enough now to sound like someone riffling the pages of a thin book. Settles me instantly. Every tap feels placed with intention, as though the night itself is editing stray thoughts, cutting what no longer serves rest. Outside, the landscape drifts past in dissolving silhouettes. Hedgerows, then a sudden pond, then a copse of oaks locked arm in arm. Their shapes enter and exit like actors in a silent play, bowing to an audience of owls. I sit near the carriage door, the rubber gasket breathing a low sigh with each sway. A faint draft carries the scent of damp earth and iron, mineral-rich, grounding. Across the aisle, a man in a neat raincoat polishes his glasses. though they are already clean. Perhaps the gesture isn't about clarity but rhythm, something for his hands to do while his mind replays a conversation he wishes had ended differently. He sets the frames aside and closes his eyes. The regret, if any, decides to rest too. The conductor appears, taps his handheld scanner against a cuff as if reminding himself he's awake, then moves on without a word. Even authority seems drowsy at this hour, softened by the unbroken hymn of wheels. A flicker of light announces the next curve. Signal lamps line the track like distant fireflies, blinking green, then gone. I let each glow punctuate an inward sentence. Still here, still moving, still safe. We slow for Cloverbrook halt. The platform is short, roofed in corrugated tin and haloed by a single lantern. Nobody waits. The doors hiss open anyway, offering the hush a chance to step inside. A damp leaf blows through, performs a small spiral in the aisle, and settles beneath an empty seat. I remember being 6, collecting leaves after rain, flattening them in heavy books so the colors wouldn't fade. Of course they did, yet the memory of copper and gold outlasted the pigments. Some things endure only by being remembered. A woman with a laptop taps one last line, shuts the lid, and folds her arms. The glow lingers on her face for a heartbeat, then fades, leaving the gentle relief of darkness. I imagine she just finished an overdue letter, an apology, perhaps, or a confession of quiet hope, clicked send, and surrendered the outcome to the rhythm of rails. The train gathers itself, as though taking a measured breath. Acceleration is gentle, a suggestion rather than a command. Window reflections blur. Inside and outside blend until my own outline seems stitched into the night beyond. Rain thickens, then thins again, playing its own improvised cadence. Each variation invites a new memory. First kiss under a bus shelter. Phone call when the storm drowned words we later filled in with laughter. Taxi ride after a concert, windshield wipers marking time faster than our hearts. A young boy, perhaps 8, sleeps curled against his father's side further down. The father's palm rests protectively over the child's shoulder, thumb moving in slow circles, absent, instinctive care. I wonder if the boy will remember this journey or only inherit the calm it plants deep inside him. We pass grazing fields. Even in darkness, I can sense the quiet heave of cattle, steam rising from their backs like visible sighs. They barely notice the train, content within night's wider cradle. Time loosens. Minutes feel uncoupled from numbers, free to stretch or fold as they wish. I check my watch without meaning to and find reassurance not in the hour displayed but in the soft glow of its hands. A reminder that something small and steady keeps count so I don't have to. Another station glides by, this one unlit, its sign just legible. Fenlake Crossing. We do not stop. Still, I nod in silent gratitude. Even unseen platforms witness our passing and are part of the story. Inside, the man who polished his glasses wakes, blinks, smiles at nothing in particular. He reaches into his coat and retrieves a tiny paper crane. He sets it on the tray table, watches it wobble, then folds his hands. A gift for a meeting tomorrow, I guess, or a talisman for courage tucked into a stranger's palm. Light flickers overhead. Not harsh, only enough to remind the body that rest is an invitation, not a demand. I close my eyes and count 4 breaths, matching them to the patterned clack beneath. On the 4th exhale, thoughts loosen like knots in warm water. A tunnel opens ahead, swallowing us in velvet dark. The sudden absence of landscape feels like a held breath shared by everyone on board. Inside the blackness, the small pool of carriage light seems brighter, a hearth in motion. We emerge to a wide marshland. Moonlight, thin as rice paper, slips through a break in clouds, painting the flooded grasses silver. Raindrops strike the illuminated water, each ripple a tiny, perfect circle expanding into calm. I think about circles, years, habits, friendships I've let drift but never quite lost. All of them widen, overlap, return. Tonight, that feels like grace rather than repetition. The laptop woman yawns. The paper crane tilts. The father adjusts the blanket over his son. These small acts populate the dark with tenderness. We begin to decelerate. The song of steel lengthens its notes. Next stop, Hazelford, last before the coast. Daybreak will meet us there, but dawn can wait. For now, the night is enough, complete in its murmured promises. Rain dwindles to sporadic taps, like distant applause winding down after the encore. I rest my head against the glass, feel the cool, and let one final image settle. A crescent of marshland under a paper moon, stitched to my reflection. Breath slows, words dim. The train hum carries everything forward. I surrender to its keeping, trusting the rails to hold the weight of unspoken hopes until morning unclasps them, light as folded cranes taking flight. The rain has paused, leaving the window pane quilted with clear beads that tremble but do not fall. Each droplet catches the carriage's glow, turning glass into a scattered galaxy no telescope could chart. Outside, the countryside rests beneath low clouds, their bellies brushed with indistinct moonlight. I sit by the last window in the coach, close enough to see the rhythmic pulse of the red tail lamp glinting on wet rails. The soft blink feels like the train's heartbeat, steady, unhurried, proof that we continue. A woman 2 seats ahead adjusts a travel pillow shaped like a crescent. She exhales through parted lips, a whisper wiped away by the hum of wheels. I picture her traveling home from a conference, suitcase stuffed with neatly folded schedules now finished. Name badge tucked away like a chrysalis awaiting its next unveiling. The carriage creaks as we coast downhill. Metal gently complains, then settles, like an old house in changing weather. That sound has always soothed me. Structure negotiating with motion, finding new equilibrium each second. We pass a windbreak of poplars. Their trunks flash white in the outside lights, slim hieroglyphs on night's parchment. Beyond them, fields open wide and dark, breathing mist that curls low over soil newly rinsed by rain. A teenage boy kneels on his seat, peering backward through the rear door window. He traces invisible shapes in condensation, perhaps initials paired with a secret crush, perhaps the outline of a distant planet only he remembers. His guardian, half asleep, taps his shoulder. The boy turns, smiles, curls into his jacket, and sleep claims the remainder of his curiosity. The lights overhead dim by one gentle notch. Even the fluorescents understand that night asks for whispers, not proclamations. Shadows pool beneath the seats, soft as ink spilled in water. I open my notebook but write nothing, letting the blank page reflect the quiet outside. Sometimes a thought grows best when unpenned, roots spreading through silence rather than through sentences. We slow for Elmbridge platform, no more than 2 lampposts and a faded nameboard. Doors part with their usual sigh. Cool air rolls in, smelling of drenched cedar and distant chimney smoke. No feet appear, yet I imagine a farmer just beyond the glow, pausing mid-step to watch our passage, reassured that connections still thread the valley to wider worlds. When doors close, the quiet regathers, thicker, softer, like a sweater pulled over chilled shoulders. The train nudges forward, rails singing their muted lullaby. I remember an autumn years ago, traveling this same line after a funeral. That day, maples blazed ochre against hard blue sky, and grief felt sharp. Tonight the scene is ash gray, and sorrow has worn smooth, rounded by time's patient tides. A man opposite polishes a pocket watch, chain glimmering under the low light. He flips the lid, confirms the hour, then nods as though conferring with an old friend. Perhaps the watch once belonged to a grandfather who taught him that punctuality was a courtesy, but lingering in good company, an even finer one. The wheels clatter over expansion joints on a bridge, a brief flourish, like brushed cymbals in a lullaby. Below, a stream slips between reeds, reflecting the faintest shimmer of cloud-sheathed moon. Thoughts slow to match the cadence, one memory per breath, one breath per lengthening mile. I recall the first time I tasted coffee at night, sitting on a porch during summer rain, heart thrumming with possibilities still unnamed. That porch is gone, the shop that roasted the beans now a flower stall. Yet the flavor lingers whenever night and travel mingle. Rain begins again, timid at first, a few exploratory taps, then a steady hush. Droplets gather speed on the glass, tracing quiet races to the frame. I follow one until it merges with another, and together they slip from sight. Two small wanderers proving companionship can be wordless. We pass a cottage whose windows burn amber, curtains left open tonight. For a flicker, I glimpse a figure bending over a desk, perhaps writing a letter long delayed. The scene vanishes, but its warmth stays, tucked behind my ribs. A soft chime signals the next stop, Moorfield Downs. The name alone slows the pulse, 3 smooth syllables rolling like pebbles in a shallow stream. We will reach it in 10 minutes, yet time feels elastic, stretched by gentle motion. Inside, the woman with the crescent pillow shifts again, face turned toward the aisle light. A lone curl escapes her scarf, catching the glow like fine silver wire. She smiles in sleep. What kindness lives in the dream that finds her now? The conductor glides past, shoes muted by rubber matting. He pauses at each door lever, ensuring locks are secure, stewardship performed with reverence. As he passes my seat, he offers a nod that says without words, all is well. Rest easy. I pocket my pen, close the notebook, and let hands settle palm to palm. Breath deepens. Rain hushes finer, like sand poured slowly onto drum skin. Outside, telephone wires dip between poles, vanishing into darkness like lines of unwritten poetry. Somewhere, a fox may pause on the embankment, ears pricked at our distant murmur. We are guests passing through his kingdom, leaving behind only faint vibrations and the metallic scent of speed. The teenage boy stirs, mutters a fragment of a song lyric, then subsides. The man's pocket watch dreams beneath folded hands. The carriage cradle feels complete, every occupant swaying in shared orbit. I lean back, shoulder easing into upholstery that still holds the day's stored warmth. Eyes close halfway. The world divides into hazy lantern flickers behind lids. Words recede, replaced by rhythm, by drizzle. by the subtle promise that somewhere ahead dawn arranges pale colors for morning's unveiling. For now, I keep nothing but this moment. The hush of distant hills, the soft pulse of red-tail light, the rain-beaded galaxy trembling on glass. I let those images settle where dreams begin. Breath lengthens once more, rails chant softer, and consciousness loosens, floating like a feather in slow twilight. The train continues through silent miles of weathered light, carrying us deeper into rest, into that gentle province where thought becomes mist and every sleeper is a quiet star. The rain steadies again, soft but certain, a brush of needles knitting the night together. Drops gather at the top edge of the window, hold a breath, then glide downward in slow, wavering lines. Each line leaves a brief, shining river, erased almost as soon as it is born. The carriage light is turned low, tinted amber, like candle glow filtered through honey. It paints every face with warmth, even those tipped into shadow. I can see my reflection, blurred and kind, hovering over the phantom landscape sliding past. Outside, meadows stretch under a quilt of mist. Tufts of long grass bow in the damp breeze, heads heavy with rainwater. Farther off, a line of hay bales sits like patient chess pieces, unmoved by weather or passing hours. We enter a gentle curve. Steel sings beneath us, a crescent note that fades before it can echo. Somewhere deep in the engine a valve sighs, the sound of exertion kept respectful, hushed. A pair of teenage siblings sit across the aisle. The older sister sketches in a spiral notebook, pencil darting, pausing, darting again. She keeps glancing at her brother, who sleeps with mouth open and fingers still clutching a game console. I imagine her line work becoming a gentle caricature, a small tribute she will slide under his pillow when they reach their stop. We glide by a signal house. Its windows glow pale green, rows of levers gleaming behind the glass like brass organ pipes. A lone operator stands inside, hat low, hands folded behind his back, watching our train pass the way a lighthouse keeper watches a distant sail. The railway embankment drops away to marshland. Standing water reflects scattered farm lights, doubling each tiny beacon. For a moment, the world seems held between two skies, both colorless, both immense. My seat back creaks as I lean forward. I pull a thermos from my bag, twist the lid carefully so as not to wake the quiet. Steam rises, swirling with the scent of chamomile and orange peel. The first sip travels warmly down, and memories rise with it. Raincoats hung by a wood stove, a cat curling by damp boots, a lullaby hummed just out of tune. I think about deadlines left behind in city light. They felt sharp, insistent, like bright clocks ticking in every doorway. Here, time expands, loses its edges. It becomes a soft shawl draped over the shoulders of the night. We slow for Linden Reach. 2 lamps burn on the platform, small, steady. A wrought iron bench sits beneath them, slick with shine, empty save for a single folded newspaper bundled in twine. The doors open. No one steps out, no one boards. Yet the platform stands ready, like a friend who shows up even when not invited, just in case. Cold air slips in, laced with wood smoke from unseen chimneys. It mingles with the tea steam, forming a fleeting perfume of hearth and forest. Then the doors close, sealing us back into traveling warmth. The ride resumes, but slower, the rhythm stretched. Will joints thunk farther apart, leaving pockets of quiet between each note. Into one pocket, I tuck a regret I no longer need. Into another, a hope still green but patient. An elderly man further down the car checks his phone once more, then locks it, places its screen down on the seat beside him. His posture softens, as if surrendering to the truth that answers can wait until morning. He folds his hands over his coat like someone saying grace before rest. Rain thickens a moment, then drifts back to drizzle. It reminds me of applause after a final encore, enthusiastic, then tapering to intimate taps from a few hands unwilling to let the moment end. My eyes close halfway. Behind lids, lights smear into gentle prisms, drifting like lanterns on a dusk river. Thoughts slow, arrange themselves in single file, each bowing before stepping aside for the next. We pass a grove of fir trees. Needles shimmer with moisture, catching stray yard lights so they look strung with silver thread. I recall winter hikes when every breath left a small cloud waiting to be named. Funny how the cold once felt biting. Tonight, even that memory is velvety, domesticated by distance. The siblings settle deeper. The girl sets down her pencil. The brother slides sideways till his head finds her shoulder. Their quiet closeness feels like a lantern too, one that glows without flame. Outside, a river appears, wide and slow. Bridge lights cast broken columns across its surface, as though the water were a sheet of tarnished glass. We rumble over wooden ties, a low, rhythmic drum beneath the rails. Looking down, I imagine every ripple carrying a small story. Scraps of conversations, lost wishes, rainwater that once touched a mountain peak. The conductor walks by, softer than rumor, pausing only to adjust the cabin thermostat. His presence feels ceremonial, like a priest blessing a congregation already halfway to dreams. My thermos is empty now. The cup rests warm between palms. I close my eyes fully, trusting the motion to cradle whatever remains of wakefulness. Outside, hedgerows fade to indistinct charcoal. Inside, breath and engine hum weave a single lullaby. One last picture surfaces. Dawn light straining through gauze curtains, the smell of fresh bread somewhere unseen. I release it, let it drift beyond thinking, a promise filed under later. The train presses onward, through glass rivers and quiet lanterns, through miles of softly spoken night. Words float apart, scatter, sink. Only rhythm remains. Steel, breath, rain, guiding every passenger toward the unbroken shore of sleep. Rain drifts in delicate threads, almost hesitant, tracing the glass as though the night were practicing quiet calligraphy. The droplets linger, then glide, leaving translucent trails that vanish before memory can fasten to them. Outside, hedges and half-flooded ditches rise and fall like dark breaths, each shape dissolving the moment I try to name it. I sit near the carriage junction, where two coaches meet with a faint, steady sway. The rubber diaphragm exhales a soft sigh at every bend, a reminder that even metal needs to breathe. The scent here is an understated blend of wet wool, cooled machinery, and the faint sweetness of someone's forgotten citrus candy. Across the aisle, a young mother cradles an infant wrapped in a quilt the color of storm-lit lilac. The baby's fingers flex, release, flex again, searching for dreams too new to keep. The mother's eyelids droop, yet her arms never slacken, proof that love can stand guard while consciousness drifts. We pass a siding stacked with timber, bark slick and dark under sodium lamps. For a flicker, I smell fresh-cut pine, though the windows are sealed. Memory can be a phantom sense, summoning fragrances the air itself has ceased to carry. The wheels strike a joint on the bridge, a muted coo-thunk that echoes back from unseen stone arches. I listen for the reply, but the sound folds quickly into distance, leaving behind a hollow just large enough for reflection. Echo and stillness share the same rhythm tonight, partners in an unhurried dance. Far ahead, a signal glows green, diffused by drizzle until it resembles a soft lantern floating just above the track. We glide beneath its blessing, speed unchanged, confidence unspoken. The engine hushes another notch, inviting everyone aboard to follow its example. A man in a faded corduroy jacket studies a weather map on his tablet. The screen's pale light silhouettes crow's feet at the corners of his eyes, cartography of storms weathered and survived. He pinches to zoom, smiles at an isobar's gentle curve, then powers the device down as though granting the atmosphere a moment of privacy. Outside, fields surrender to woodland. Bare branches knit together overhead, forming a brief tunnel where rain can no longer reach the glass. For those seconds, the cabin feels suspended, rails, wheels, and gravity held at respectful distance. We emerge beside a canal, its surface unbroken, mirroring scattered cottage lights in slender columns of gold. I picture a lone boater below deck, kettle whistling, pages of an unfinished letter fluttering under a brass lamp. Even waterborne travelers must pause to write what motion cannot hold. At the end of the coach, someone chuckles softly in sleep. The sound drifts forward, light as dust motes in lamplight, then settles before it can wake a single soul. Laughter, even unintentional, is permission to release tension we forgot we carried. The conductor arrives, shoes muffled by the carpet runner. His gaze sweeps the rows with practiced tenderness, ensuring every ticketed dreamer is comfortable. He nods at me, a silent covenant. The journey is tended. You may rest. We slow for Fernwick Gate, platform barely longer than 2 carriages. An iron bench sits under a crooked awning, rain dripping from its edges like measured time. No passenger appears, yet the doors open anyway, because every station deserves the courtesy of being asked. Mist rolls inside, cool and mineral, before the doors sigh closed. The air settles, almost audible in its retreat, as though the night respects thresholds as much as people do. I inhale, tasting slate and moss, and feel an ache both ancient and gentle stretch along my ribs. The mother hums a lullaby under her breath, words blurred by exhaustion into pure melody. I recognize nothing and everything, a tune sown from countless evenings when someone rocked me toward rest. Echoes fold into echoes. Even unsung songs have descendants. We climb a gradual grade, motors deepening in pitch, yet never breaching the hush. Through the window, a hillside cemetery slides into view, headstones pale as river stones under moonless vapor. I offer a silent nod to sleepers older than tracks, sharing for a moment the same swift passage through darkness. The summit arrives without flourish, only a slight easing of strain in the rails. On the far side, a valley spreads like ink poured on vellum, houses scattered in soft clusters of lamplight. Somewhere below, a dog barks twice, then thinks better of disturbing the rain. I sip lukewarm water from a bottle, surprised at how clean it tastes against the metallic song beneath my feet. Small austerities, plain water, steady breath, feel lavish when wrapped in motion. Abundance can be as simple as one need met without effort. A memory surfaces, bicycle spokes glinting in summer sun, asphalt humming under tires, the world widening with every pedal stroke. Tonight's train supplies the pedaling. I offer only attention, and distance unfolds all the same. Growth, it seems, continues even when muscles lie still. We coast across a viaduct, arches invisible but sensed in the long, deep note the wheels produce. Below, the river is a single unbroken darkness, its voice drowned by our own. I silently promise to listen when morning returns it to song. The infant releases a small sigh, half yawn, half contentment. The mother smiles, eyes still closed, trusting the train to cradle them both until dawn. I borrow that trust, pull it over me like an extra blanket. Stations ahead blur into gentle possibility. Ivy Field, Marlin Point, Shorebridge. Their names drift through the speaker in a voice so soft it feels like shared breathing. Each place waits with its lamp lit, regardless of how many doors open. Thought loosens, becomes featherlight. Paragraphs dissolve into single lines, lines into the pulse of wheels, pulse into breath. Between one echo and the next, I slip beneath the surface of wakefulness, finding stillness deep enough to hold the quiet whole. Rain lingers, delicate as breath on glass, threading the pane with transparent lace that sways each time the carriage rocks. Tiny beads gather, hesitate, then wander downward in slow, glimmering caravans, their journeys brief yet complete. The cabin light has dimmed to the hush of a banked ember. Seats glow the color of old parchment, edges blurred by shadow, and the soft rumble beneath us sounds like distant surf curling over sand. I occupy a window seat near the front, knees drawn up, hands nested around a cooling cup of mint tea. Steam has dwindled to the faintest ghost, but the scent clings, a reminder of gardens long since folded into memory. Outside, pastureland unfurls, dark, yielding, endless. Every few moments a fence post appears, tilts away, and is gone, like punctuation in a sentence the earth is whispering to itself. Beyond the rails, sheep cluster under a solitary oak, while blinking pale, whenever the engine lamp sweeps across their night-breathing forms. A young man across the aisle sketches faint circles on a receipt, pencil looping lazily while his eyelids flutter. Perhaps those circles are not doodles but orbits, planetary paths, mapping the distance between what he hopes and where he stands. His head nods, pencil slips, the receipt drifts to the floor, forgiven. The conductor walks past, coat smelling faintly of cedar polish, his keys whispering like gentle sleigh bells. He pauses, adjusts the thermostat, then taps a note into a small leather book, not ticking tasks but planting them gently, like seeds in loam. We slow for Rosebank halt. The platform lamp glows amber, halo enlarged by drizzle. No passengers wait, yet the doors part all the same, a formal bow to possibility. Cool air trickles in, tasting of wet clover and distant chimney smoke. Then the doors seal, the train inhales, and we glide onward. I think of letters I keep meaning to send, apologies softened by time, gratitude grown brighter in absence. Night travel makes every delay feel forgivable, as though the miles themselves are drafting a reply on my behalf, promising that sincerity travels faster than schedules ever could. Rain resumes with new confidence, tapping a patient rhythm. 1, 2, pause, 1, 2, pause, inviting lungs to follow. I match its cadence, feel shoulders drop, feel the mind's crowded platforms empty, lanterns dimmed row by row. A couple near the rear slumber forehead to forehead, a shared set of headphones bridging them in quiet music I cannot hear. Their breaths alternate, weaving a braid of air between two dreams. I wonder if they will remember this exact moment, or only the comfort of having slept without fear. We enter a tunnel. Windows turn to mirrors. The carriage becomes its own small universe, a vial of gently stirring stars. In that reflection, I glimpsed myself, features softened, eyes half-lit, looking both older and younger than day allows. I raise the teacup in silent salute, and the reflection returns the gesture, earnest and immediate. Emerging, we cross low wetlands where pools collect stray moonlight, though the moon itself remains hidden behind quilted cloud. Reeds sway, their feathery heads bowing in unanimous acceptance of whatever weather arrives. A heron lifts into view, pale wings catching the beam from our cab light, then slides back into darkness, leaving only the idea of flight behind. Time lengthens further. Minutes feel padded, generous, like hallways lined with thick carpet. I recall childhood nights spent in back seats of family cars, streetlights strobing through windows, each flash a benign guardian, ensuring we reached home still dreaming. Tonight the guardians are signals, green, then black, then none, yet the promise remains identical. Rest, traveler, the way is tended. The sketching passenger wakes, retrieves his fallen paper, smiles at the incomplete circles, folds them carefully into his pocket. Perhaps he senses that what is unfinished now may appear complete in some later hour, the way dawn stitches stray colors into seamless sky. Our wheels soften their song. Next stop is Seaview Terminus, final destination for this line, first greeting for sunrise. We are still miles away, but even the air feels tinged with salt, and somewhere beyond the horizon gulls must be turning in their sleep. I sip the last of the tea, lukewarm, sweet, forgiving, and close my eyes, listening to the rain hush to a misty whisper. Thoughts slide out of formation, drift like petals on slow water. Regret thins to transparency. Hope gathers quiet heft, settling deep, like a stone warmed by day then tucked into pocket. One more signal flares past, emerald dissolving into night. Inside, the engine hum merges with breathing until neither is alone. I let head rest against glass cooled by rain's careful hands, feeling the boundary between self and window and world dissolve into a single patient exhale. When eyelids finally close, I picture the terminus, platform shining with early light, gulls circling, coffee scent mingling with sea spray. Whether that image belongs to memory or anticipation no longer matters. The train will carry me there or somewhere kinder, and dawn, already awake, will wait without impatience. Rails murmur, rain murmurs, heart follows. Words retire, leaving only breath and motion. In that shared stillness, sleep arrives, quiet, silver, inevitable, and the night, satisfied, continues its soft work of turning tracks into dreams.